Have you ever felt a heaviness inside? Not quite sadness, not quite fear, not quite stress, but something deeper, something you don't even have words for. Maybe you wake up already tired, not physically tired, but tired in your bones. Maybe you keep yourself busy because the moment things get quiet, something inside you aches. Or maybe you move through your day feeling disconnected, even when you're surrounded by people. If you ever felt like this quiet, confusing ache, the kind you can't name, the kind you carry alone, today's session is for you. Hi, I'm Janine Naus, your grief and trauma relief specialist, and today we're talking about something I see in so many trauma survivors, something rarely named but deeply felt: emotional loneliness. Not being alone, not needing more friends, but the kind of loneliness that lives inside. The loneliness created when your emotional needs were never met, understood, or held, and you learn to carry your feelings on your own. This kind of loneliness doesn't always look like loneliness. It often shows up as exhaustion you can't explain, numbing that happens automatically, staying busy to avoid feeling, overgiving because you're starving for connection, shutting down because you don't know how to be met, or feeling empty even when your life looks full. So if any of that sounds familiar, take a breath. You're not broken. You're not too emotional. You're not failing. You're responding exactly the way your nervous system learned to survive emotional disconnection. So before we go further, I want to ask you gently, do you ever feel tired in a way that rest doesn't fix? Just noticing your answer without judgment is the beginning of understanding the ache. So in today's Healing Step session, we're going to explore what this ache really is and why trauma creates it and how you can begin to tend to it gently without forcing yourself into anything too big or too fast. And this is going to be a soft, compassionate space. So let's take one more grounding breath together. Slowly inhale and then slowly exhale. And then we'll go ahead and begin. So when we talk about loneliness, most people think of being physically alone, but emotional loneliness is different. It's the experience of not feeling met, understood, or held, even when you're with people. Emotional loneliness happens when the deepest part of you never had a place to land, when the feelings inside you didn't have someone to witness them, or someone who knew how to respond with care. For many trauma survivors, this began years ago, sometimes in childhood, sometimes in a relationship where your emotions weren't safe or were ignored, dismissed, punished, or minimized. When your needs weren't met consistently, your nervous system learned a painful pattern. I am alone in what I feel. Not physically alone, emotionally alone. And that loneliness gets carried into adulthood, into relationships, into friendships, into the way you show up for yourself. And you might feel unsupported even when people are there. You might feel misunderstood even in a room full of friends. And you might feel invisible even when others see you. Now, I want to ask you something, not to answer out loud, just inside yourself. Do you feel more alone in your emotions than you do in your life? If the answer is yes, that's not a flaw. It's a sign of emotional loneliness. And here's the part that often gets unnoticed. So when your emotional world isn't met, your body finds ways to cope through exhaustion, numbing, overthinking, staying busy, or disconnecting. Not because you're broken, not because you're unmotivated, but because your nervous system is protecting the parts of you that were never held. So in the next section, I want to share a moment from my own life, a moment when I realized the exhaustion I was feeling was actually emotional loneliness. that I had never had a name for it. So there was a time in my life when I thought I was simply tired, tired from working hard, tired from surviving, tired from shouldering everything alone. And I told myself, I just need more rest. I just need a break. But no matter how much I slept, no matter how early I went to bed, no matter what I tried, that exhaustion never lifted. It took me a long time to understand what I was feeling wasn't physical exhaustion, it was actually emotional loneliness. I was surrounded by people, yet I didn't feel understood. I had conversations every day, yet I wasn't really sharing myself. I kept myself busy so I wouldn't have to feel the ache underneath the surface. And here's the part that hit me the hardest. I didn't even realize I was lonely. I just felt tired. Well, one day, after pushing myself far past my limits, I remember sitting alone in my car, hands on the steering wheel, completely drained, not from doing too much, but from feeling alone in too much. There was no one who, there was no one I felt truly safe opening up to. No one who saw the weight I was carrying, no one who understood the depth of the ache inside of me. And in that moment, I realized something I'd been avoiding. I wasn't tired because I needed rest. I was tired because I needed, excuse me. Yeah, I was tired because I needed connection, to be understood, to be witnessed, to be emotionally met in the places I had spent years carrying myself. And that moment changed everything for me. Not overnight, not instantly, but gently, because it was the first time I really understood my exhaustion wasn't a failure, my numbness wasn't avoidance, my busyness wasn't ambition. They were all survival strategies my body created to cope with the loneliness I never felt safe enough to name. And if any part of you recognizes that, even a little, you are not alone. So, in the next section, we're going to explore the different ways emotional loneliness shows up in your body, your behavior, and your daily life, even when you don't realize that's what it is. See, emotional loneliness doesn't always show up the way people expect. It often doesn't look like sadness or tears or isolation. Instead, it hides inside your behaviors, the ones you've learned to rely on just to keep going. Now, let's talk about a few ways emotional loneliness disguises itself. And the first one is exhaustion that you can't fix. When you carry your emotional world alone, your nervous system works overtime. It constantly is scanning for danger, keeping you composed for others, managing feelings you don't feel safe expressing, and suppressing needs you don't think you are allowed. And that kind of emotional labor, it drains your energy more than any physical task ever could. Does this feel familiar? Feeling tired after you sleep? Feel free to type in the chat, that's me, or me. Another way emotional loneliness disguises itself is two, which is actually numbing or disconnecting. So when emotional loneliness feels overwhelming, your body may protect you by disconnecting from your feelings altogether. Now, this can look like feeling nothing when someone should hurt or something should hurt, going blank when emotions rise, defaulting to autopilot, zoning out or losing time, disconnecting from what you actually feel or want. This isn't a flaw. It's simply your body saying, this is too much to carry alone. Now, the third way emotional loneliness disguises itself is staying busy or over-functioning. Now, this is one of the most common patterns. See, many trauma survivors stay in motion, constantly doing, helping, achieving, fixing, because slowing down means the ache becomes louder. Busyness becomes the shield, and productivity becomes a protector. Overfunctioning becomes a way to outrun emotional loneliness. And you might say, I have so much to do. But the truth underneath is often, I don't know what to do with myself when I stop. Now, the fourth way emotional loneliness disguises itself is people pleasing and overgiving. If emotional support was inconsistent, dismissive, or conditional, you might try to earn connection by giving more than you receive. And you might show up for everyone else, hoping that someone will finally show up for you. This doesn't mean you're weak. It means you learned that your emotional needs were best met through caretaking, not receiving. And a fifth emotional loneliness disguises itself as hyper-independence. When your emotions weren't met consistently, your nervous system learned, I am safest when I rely on myself. So you become the strong one, the capable one, the one who doesn't ask for help, the one who carries everything alone, even when you're breaking inside. This is emotional loneliness wearing armor. So if you're hearing pieces of yourself in one or more of these patterns, I want you to know there's nothing wrong with you. These are adaptations, survival strategies, your body's way of trying to keep you safe when emotional connection wasn't consistent or available. So in the next part, I'm going to guide you through a gentle practice, one that helps you listen to the ache with compassion instead of fear, and begin understanding what it's been trying to tell you all along. Now, it's called the Name the Ache practice, and it's a soft way to understand what hurts. I want to walk you through something gentle. Now, something that will help you connect with the ache inside without getting flooded or overwhelmed. Now, this is not about fixing anything. It's about listening softly. You don't need a journal yet, just your breath, your presence, and a moment of compassion for yourself. So let's begin. So in step one, it's called settle into your body. And find a comfortable position. Let your shoulders soften, release your jaw, maybe place one hand over your chest or on your stomach, wherever you feel grounded. And take a slow inhale through your nose and exhale gently through your mouth. Safe enough is all we aim for. Not perfect safety, just safe enough to breathe. Then in step two, bring your attention to the ache. Now I want you to slowly tune in to the place inside you that feels heavy, the place that feels tired or numb or empty or tight or unsettled. You don't have to label it correctly, and you don't have to judge what you feel. You don't even have to understand it. Just simply notice it like you'd notice a small child tugging on your sleeve. So in step three, you're going to ask one gentle question. And when you're ready, ask your ache this question. What are you trying to tell me? Let that land for a moment. What are you trying to tell me? You might receive a whisper, a sensation, a memory, a word, or nothing at all. Whatever happens is okay. And let me repeat the question so you can write it down later if you want. What are you trying to tell me? Then in step four, it's called listen without expecting an answer. You don't need clarity right now. You don't need insight today. Just listening without fear, without rushing, communicates to your nervous system. You matter. I'm here with you. You don't have to hurt alone anymore. Sometimes the ache responds immediately, and sometimes it responds days later. Sometimes just acknowledging it softens the exhaustion. Then in step five, step five, close with compassion. Place your hand back over your heart and tell yourself quietly or silently, it's okay. I'm listening now. I don't have to carry this alone anymore. Now, this practice may seem small, but for trauma survivors, being able to name the ache is the beginning of healing it. And to help you go even deeper, I'm going to give you a journaling prompt next that you can bring forward emotional clarity in a gentle, grounded way. Now that we've taken a moment to listen to the ache, without pushing and without demanding answers, I want to guide you into a deeper reflection. This is where your healing starts to unfold in a very real and tender way. Take another slow breath. And when you're ready, I want you to write down this prompt. What do I need emotionally that I never received consistently? Let me repeat that for you so you can capture it clearly. What do I need emotionally that I never received consistently? You don't have to find the perfect words, and you don't have to dive into past trauma. This is not about reliving anything. It's simply about noticing what your heart has been longing for, maybe even for years. For some people, the need might be to feel understood, to feel supported, to feel chosen, to feel important, to feel emotionally safe, to feel valued without performing, to feel cared for when they're not strong, or simply to have someone stay and not leave. Whatever comes up for you is valid. And if nothing comes up yet, that's okay. See, sometimes the ache needs time, and just asking the question begins to soften something inside. So, in the next moment, I'm going to guide you into a supportive next step, one where you don't have to explore this alone and where we walk through it gently together. So, if today's session is stirring something inside you, if you're realizing that your exhaustion, your numbness, or the constant doing might actually be emotional loneliness you've carried alone for years, I want you to know this. You don't have to explore this on your own anymore, and you don't have to rush into anything big or overwhelming. There is a gentle next step available to you, and it's called the Healing Clarity Session. And it's a free 30-minute private, heart-centered conversation where your emotional experience is seen and respected, not minimized, not rushed. In this session, we move slowly through 3 simple steps. Now, in step 1 is to identify, and we'll gently identify where emotional loneliness is hiding in your life, in your exhaustion, your numbness, your disconnection, your overgiving, or your constant busyness. You don't need to have the answers, and we're going to go ahead and find them together. So then in step 2, we'll uncover what your nervous system has been protecting you from. Sometimes it's the fear of being too much. Sometimes it's the fear of being alone again. And sometimes it's the fear of needing something you were never allowed to have. We move at your pace, never deeper than your body feels ready for. And in the final step, step 3, we'll just go ahead and discover one small, compassionate next step, a step that helps you feel less alone inside your emotional world and more supported in a way your nervous system can actually receive. This isn't about forcing breakthroughs, it's about giving you a safe space to breathe and letting your system feel met rather than misunderstood. And this call is not a sales pitch, it's not a pressured conversation. It is a calm, steady place where your ache is allowed to exist and where you don't have to hold it by yourself. If you're ready to take one gentle step toward feeling less alone inside, you can schedule your free healing clarity session using the link below. Healing doesn't begin when you force yourself to feel better. It begins when you finally feel supported enough to not do it all alone. Whenever you're ready, I'm here with you for the next step. And now, as we begin closing today's session, I want to share something to hold with you as you navigate the rest of your week. I want to leave you with a reminder that may soften something inside of you. Your exhaustion isn't laziness. Your numbness isn't avoidance. Your busyness isn't just who you are. These are all the ways your heart has learned to cope with carrying too much alone. The ache you feel isn't a failure, isn't a signal. It's a message from the parts of you that were never emotionally met, asking for comfort, connection, and understanding. And now that you're beginning to notice it, you're already healing something that has been unnamed for a very long time. And if today's session spoke to you, I invite you to subscribe to my YouTube channel at Janine Naus, where you'll find every healing step session a safe space to explore your healing, one gentle breath at a time. And if this topic resonated deeply, the next video I want you to watch is When It Feels Safer to Be Numb, Trauma Healing and Emotional Disconnection Explained. Now, it's a perfect companion to today's session, especially if numbing has become your body's way of protecting you when the ache feels too big. And you can watch it right here, and you can click on the link on your screen. And as you do, I'd like for you to remember, you don't have to silence the ache to survive. You only need to learn how to listen to it gently, slowly, with compassion. And you never have to do that alone. I'll see you in the next session. I hope you have a great day. Thank you for joining me.